Hello and guten Tag. This is another tutorial for you. This tutorial is going to show you the basics of soundtrack composition. Okay, so I am using a clip from the film Terminator for use, and what we're going to do is we're going to show you how to put this together as a soundtrack composition. So this has no sound at this point in time, and I'm just going to show you very quickly how you would go about making your own sounds, okay, and putting them together to create a whole soundtrack. Look at that, the best actor ever to never receive an Oscar. There you go, Arnold Schwarzenegger. Okay, so let's start. So you've got a program called Adobe Audition that I'd like you to open up, and I'd like you to switch to multi-track. Okay, call it whatever you want, doesn't necessarily matter. So I'm going to call this Terminator. Okay, now you've got sample rate and bit depth. It's good to leave it as it is unless you need to change it for whatever reason. Okay, so the sample rate and bit depth is essentially it's about between the size of a file compared to the quality of the file. So at this stage they are quite evenly balanced. It's going to get good quality and little compression happening. You can change them for whatever reason. Don't worry about it too much. If you are worried about its quality, just try and put it up to its highest sample rate, and then you could compress it later if you need to. Okay, but at this stage you don't have to worry about it. You can just create a multi-track session as it is. Okay, so press OK. Alright then, so it's called a multi-track because it is made up of multiple tracks, and the idea is you take sound files and you pop them into Adobe Audition and you create layered sounds that create a whole composition. Okay, so to start off with, so we're just going to take the file that you should have downloaded from the link provided, and we're just going to drag it in. So it should work perfectly fine. If I drag this across, you'll see that it recognizes it as a file already. Okay, so you've got a video track now, video reference, as you can see there. We get rid of that, great. Okay, at the bottom here, you would get this nice and big, you'll be able to see that you've got the video reference to go by. There you go. Okay then, so what the idea is you're going to layer up sounds and get sounds from. Well, there are loads of ways that you can get sounds, and I'm going to show you a few of those. Okay, so you can record sounds. You can record sounds using the Zoom audio recorder. Once you've received the Zoom audio recorder, try switching it on. It's the switch on the side there. Now it takes a little while to start, but what you need to realize is to record, it's going to record out of the top microphones that you can see there. If it doesn't record out of those for whatever reason, just ask your tutor for help with changing it so it does. So when you start, you'll see the lines there, press record, and you can actually see sound levels, okay? Notice it makes noise, but it's paused, it's not actually recording. Press it again, and you get the recording icon. Press stop when you're done. When you play it back, you can hear the sounds that you've created. That way you know you've recorded. Okay, so back here, that means that we now have a sound. So you need to take the SD card out of the Zoom audio recorder and attach it to your Mac computer, okay? So ask your tutor for help doing that if you are unsure of what to do. So now it should pop up on your desktop. Click on the SD card and try and find your file, okay? So it should generally be in stereo, okay? It should be in one of these folders. Now generally I would hope that it would be in folder 1, but you can't always be sure that that's the case, okay? So let's try this one. I'm assuming it's this one. I can quick preview by pressing space. Okay, so that's the sound that we recognise, so we're definitely in the right place. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to grab the one above it. Okay. Okay, so that's the sound that I created, and as you can tell, there's a little bit of distortion on that, so it's not exactly perfect. Okay, so it might be a good idea to just do a couple of takes and adjust your microphone's position, because that microphone at that stage was perhaps a little too close, and there was definitely some distortion in the microphone. You could hear that. Okay. So if I had more time, I would re-record that, but I don't. So we're going to carry on. Okay, so back in here. Let's grab that file and pop that with the other files available. So STE045. Now I'm going to drag this and pop this in to here. Just press OK for this, and it's going to create a new file. Okay, so you can tell where the distortion has actually happened, where the microphone is clipping. Okay, so bear in mind, if the decibel levels are going above this point in time, so if I was to play this back, these red marks, as you can tell there, occasionally you get a red mark, it's too loud. Okay, so adjust your mic levels on the Zoom before you record. Okay, you can always bring the volume up in post-production, but you can't bring the volume down in post-production very easily. There are ways to do it if you have some issues though, so just ask your tutor about fixing mic clipping. Okay. Right then, so we're going to try and attach this to this bit here where he comes in. So we're going to use a little bit of the sound to mimic the Venetian blinds being ruffled about. So I'm going to take it from about there because that sounds quite nicely, and I'm going to fade it out. I'm going to try from there, and just watch the screen here, see if it's in sync. That would work really well if it was perhaps a little bit quieter and there was low distortion. So we'll just keep the distortion as it is at this point in time. What I can do as a quick fix is, if I was to zoom in, I could perhaps just cut out the offending sound. So where is the offending sound? The razor tool will be able to cut this sound out. It's all of that actually. And delete that. What I'd like to do is like to take this, copy it, Command C, bring it here, Command V, and just pop it in its place because that is a nice sound. Okay. Now, if you look at those yellow markers are allowing us to see where the sounds can be merged together. Okay. So they will sound better because they will fade in and fade out as the sounds transfer over. So let's have a listen to that. It sounds okay. It's a little bit repetitive, but it's a quick fix. So let's hear that from start to finish. It'll do. Okay, so another thing you can do is use the anchor points, like you've learned in other lessons, to change the volume over time. So it's a little bit too loud at the start there, but I'd like it to hike up. Okay, so we've got our first sound there and it's sounding quite nice. Okay, so let's add some ambience. Okay, look it up in Google if you don't know what I mean, but ambience, it's basically like room noise and things like that. Now he's out in a old dilapidated apartment block. He's coming from outside, the window's open. So what I'd like to do is in the background, very slightly, I'd like to be able to hear the noise of a city. Okay, so what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to go onto our website and log in or even sign up and log in to a lovely website called freesound.org. Okay, it's a great user created sound library. Everything's free, Creative Commons to use. And essentially it's an amazing program that will save you a lot of time. Okay, so you can record your own sounds like I've shown, but also try using Freesound to get a lot of other sounds. Okay, so when you start, you can search for sounds. So for example, type in city ambience like I've done, and you will have a list of sounds. You can play them back. I don't want the people there, so I'm not going to use this one. I'm going to go down to this next one. I quite like that one. It's quite loud, but I can obviously change that in post. Okay, so I click on it to get to its page, and I click download. Now it should happen in your browser. You should be able to find it, and then you'll be able to drag and drop it into your own area. Now for this tutorial, I'm not spending a lot of time organizing my files. I'm just throwing them onto the desktop, but I would recommend not doing that. Okay, I would recommend downloading things and then keeping them in proper sound library files. Okay, so I'll just wait for this to finish downloading. Okay, so that's completed. When it downloads, it might open iTunes, but forget about iTunes. It's a rubbish program and you don't need it. Don't download. Go away. Shoot. Okay, so just grab the file, bring it to your organized area, and then you can drag it to the Adobe Audition again. Okay, so I can grab that, I can bring that into the track. Okay, press OK just to change it to the correct sample type. Okay, and we can play around with this. That's very loud. I don't need it that loud, so I can bring that right down. That sounded a little bit better. So we'll keep it playing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to decrease the sound levels as he walks away from the window. So we can concentrate on other sound effects. Okay, so let's move on. Let's try making the light switch happen. Now, it's just a matter of opening Freesound again and searching for what you want. So, light switch. Nice and simple. What do we have? Light switch on and off. Let's have a listen. Okay. Let's try light switch hanging. Perhaps we'll have more luck. Nope. Or old. Let's try that. Old light switch. Okay, a little bit difficult because it is a neon. Certainly not that one, Jesus. All right, we'll try this one. This one sounds nice. Click download. Now notice I'm being quite picky with the sound that I wanted, only because you know, you want to take some care and think about what type it is. So it's a dangling light switch. It's not one that's attached to the wall. And some people can be quite finicky and pick up on that. So we just grab this, we bring it in, we zoom in. Okay, so let's find the place where it goes. Okay, it's there. Zoom out. There we go, we find this, pop it here, zoom in. Try moving that there. Perfect. Well, not necessarily perfect, but it'll do. Okay, one final thing to look at is different effects that you can use. So let's make this a bit smaller so we can see the effects rack. Now each track can essentially have all of the same effects on them, or you can have individual clip effects. You can see the difference there. We have this selected. And we can say track effects, we can switch to clip effects as well, okay? And it will tell you which clip it's dealing with. If I were to click on any of these, you would be able to see that there would be lots of effects that we can add to the individual clip or the individual track, okay? So let's try adding an effect to this clip. So this clip doesn't necessarily need any effects, it's just a light switch, okay? But just to save time, let's just add one anyway. Okay, so here we have a sound effect. It doesn't necessarily have any effect on it at this point in time. Okay, so let's increase the delay of this. This is an echo. I'm just going to throw out the levels just so that we can see a change. Notice it will tell us if an effect has been applied by the FX sound. Okay. Okay. Okay, so this rack effect, echo, has its own window and it has some things to play around with. I'm just racking them all up just so that we can perhaps hear some level of change. Okay, you can tell it's active because it has a green button, so that means it's active. If I take that off, a slight amount of difference there, only slight, okay? So, who knows, let's try and add a different one. Let's go for something really, really crazy. Let's go for a flanger. See what that does to our sound. Okay, so there's definitely some change there. So you can tell that effects are being added. So there you go. That's essentially all of the aspects that I want you to concentrate on at this point in time. You can see we've added some sounds. We've shown you how to manipulate volume and sound effects. One final thing, if anyone cares to know, the blue line that's here, this yellow one is obviously the volume, but the blue line is the panning. So panning from left to right speaker, okay? Other than that, if there are any other questions, you can talk to your tutor. But I hope that's been helpful, and enjoy your soundtrack composition project. It's really fun.